Deductible opinions.
Why, hello again, and welcome to the Deductible Opinions podcast, the only podcast that believes every movie should have a post-credit scene featuring bloopers. There we go. Is that intentional? I don't know. With me, as always, is the always energetic Jordan.
Never sick, always energetic.
And producer extraordinaire, Zach.
Never sick, always energetic.
Okay.
I don't know.
Good. I'm glad to hear it. And special guest referee this week, Brendan.
I'm honoured, but also dying of illness.
We're all sick. How's our week's been, fellas?
We got a health check.
Can we get a little health check?
I just need a health check real quick because I am still sick.
You're still sick.
Just so we're all on the same page. I am still sick.
Oh yeah.
This is from the same sickness from the first pod, or have we moved on?
No, this is evolved. I've gotten a new illness.
It's a new one. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Got to catch them all, man.
And how about you other fellas? Are we all, how's the health? We're all sick, are we?
Oh, definitely operating at 75%, I'd say. Just can't complain.
Literally came down with it this afternoon.
Some crazy pollen today. I was getting a bit of hay fever as well. First sunny day.
Dude, Brenny has a flu right now. He may fucking just pass out on us.
This is all fever dream.
Yeah, if I go quiet, that's the reason.
Well, fellas, apart from being deathly sick, although it sounds like some of you've only gotten sick today, so that's good. What have you done with your week? Have we consumed much media this week?
Dude, I didn't write a list. I've been watching more Dragon Ball. I know that.
Yes.
The OG Dragon Ball.
I'm really enjoying it. It's
Okay.
bringing me back to my youth. And then I'm also watching. I'm up to date on Presumed Innocent. Very good. Very impressive. Apple TV knocking it out of the park.
Nice.
Beautiful. There's only one episode to go.
Yeah, hell yeah, dude. I did watch some movies.
What'd you watch, man? Anything special?
What did I watch? Oh, dude, I watched Alien 2. No, Alien vs Predator 2. It was one of the worst movies I've seen in a very long time.
Oh.
Yeah, that's not a great one. I think I was saying the other day we saw that in the cinema when it came out, 1998. Was that right?
2007, but close.
2007, close enough.
Very
close enough.
very close.
Yeah, that's a stinker.
It's not
Yeah.
great.
It is a stinker. The first Alien versus Predator is not much better, but at least there's something there.
It is better though.
It is better.
I'm. You may notice I am slowly beginning my pilgrimage of all the Alien movies in chronological order.
Nice. Well,
So-
it's interesting with that second Alien versus Predator movie because I recall the first Alien versus Predator movie came out. This is the one where they're in Antarctica, and it's Aliens versus Predator, and they got a bit of like backlash. There's a lot of people were saying it's not violent enough. There's not enough gore, not enough fighting, etc. And so in the second one, they kind of take this up to 10, right?
It's nuts.
Incredibly violent. It's incredibly gross. It's super dark. You can't see anything. The story is terrible. They kind of copy the story from Resident Evil 1 of all the stories to copy. Where, they've got to escape a small town before a nuke comes and blows them all up. And
That's right.
steal a better story from a better movie. You can steal any, you're not paying for it.
They're all up for grabs. No one's going to sue them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was bad. So I think that's all I've consumed this week.
Oh, wow. No,
That's
I
nice.
thought you were going to come back with 8 movies this week.
No. God, no. I watched this movie. I watched our homework twice. So
Oh, good work.
Wow.
How about you, Zach? What did you do this week? Just one movie again, or?
Look, my life continues to be incredibly hectic, but I did my homework. I watched the movie that we're talking about today, and I watched House of the Dragon because I'm a little dragon fan, and I did some more diving,
Nice.
a bit more Dave.
Dave is back on the table.
Podcast listeners may not know this, but Zach will only watch movies if he's forced to for work.
It's the only way. It's the only way I can enjoy them. I'm not even enjoying them. I'm just, suffering through them.
That is a lie.
It's absolutely a lie. What about you, NJ?
Oh, let's go to we'll go to our guest first.
Yeah, Brenny, what are you watching?
How about you, Brendan? Have you watched anything this week?
Watched probably a weird one. Stefan actually rewatched Black Swan.
Oh, nice.
Whoa.
It came up weirdly in conversation. That was kind of like, did Black Swan suck? Did it suck? I can't remember.
I don't remember.
And what was the answer?
I don't think it's as good as it was critically received. A bit corny.
Okay. Now I have not seen it personally, but 4.1 on Letterboxd.
Wow.
Okay.
Is it 4.1? No way.
Yeah. So
That's high.
If you think Natalie Portman is hot, you'll love it.
Interesting. Who else is in that? Who's
Mila Kunis.
Oh, that's right.
And who's that smarmy French guy with curly hair? I don't know his name, but
Jared Leto.
Vincent Castle. That's his name.
I'm not sure. Oh, Vincent Castle.
Mhm.
It actually. Oh, yeah. Okay, I know that guy. He's got one of those
Yep.
faces. He's that guy.
yeah,
I've not seen Black Swan, but I love I love the whale. I love the wrestler. I never want to watch Requiem for a Dream ever again, but I'm glad I saw it once. Is it as good as those three movies?
I think not as good as Requiem and not as good as The Wrestler.
Okay, but better than the whale. Or you haven't seen the whale?
I haven't seen The Whale.
Yeah, me either, dude.
The whale's good.
It could be. I don't know.
The whale is good. I'm looking at my letterbox review. Apparently, I 5-banged that one. So
Oh,
Which one?
Ooh,
whale. I guess I really liked it. I don't remember liking it that much, but maybe it was pretty moving after I saw it. Oh, well, that's awesome. Did you catch anything else? Or is that pretty much it for your week?
that's pretty much it.
What'd you do, NJ? Hit me.
Didn't watch too much this week, but I did get out to the cinema, caught a new movie. Does anyone want to guess? What movies are in the cinema at the moment? What do you think I may have gone and seen?
I mean, I know. Does anyone not know in the podcast? I'm going to guess.
I do not know.
All right, have a guess, bro.
I don't know what's in the cinema. You know, you could have seen something as part of the Spanish Film Festival for all. I know.
I've gone to a few of those film festivals now.
Okay, I'm gonna go. I'll go with the Three Musketeers, the new one.
Oh, I actually have the first two on my watch list. I'm going to watch those with my partner, with Shadai. So I haven't seen the new one yet because we're not caught up. No, but I saw Twisters,
yes.
You did it, man.
the legacy sequel. Is it a legacy sequel? It doesn't have any of the same characters.
You tell us, bro.
Are there any cameos?
There's no cameos. No,
Wow.
pretty much a completely separate movie. But it was good. It's actually probably better than the first movie. At least my partner Shania thought so.
But it keeps it's rating higher than the first movie on Letterboxd, at least.
Yeah, it's a good one. They've done a good job. The premise of it is similar but quite different. Glenn Powell plays a YouTuber that makes YouTube videos of him going into the twisters, into the hurricanes,
Nice,
and
dude.
like shooting off fireworks and just being reckless. That's a good change. It's good. It's worth a watch. You know, you probably don't need to see it in the cinema though. You could wait for it to come on Netflix so you can watch it on your phone on the train to work.
I'm waiting for TikTok. I'll watch it on TikTok
Yeah, just watch a bunch of TikToks. Eventually you'll get the whole movie, man.
in 90 parts.
You probably could. It's one of those stories. What do we think about? And it's okay if we have no opinion because, maybe only I'm the one that thinks about these things. What do you think about Glenn Powell? Have we got much exposure to Glenn Powell?
I'm a fan, man. I like him. I started watching Hitman. I didn't finish it, but it was not because of him. I just have a child.
Yeah.
And he was good in Top Gun Maverick. Yeah, I liked
Yeah, he
him.
was good in Top Gun Maverick. Yeah.
Top Gun Maverick.
I don't have that much exposure to him, to be honest.
See, I'm getting exposed all the time because he's in the chick flicks. I watch those with my partner. And then he's in these movies. He didn't want to do Top Gun Maverick because he went for the role of Goose. He wanted to be the kind of the second lead to Tom Cruise. And he didn't get it. And they're like, well, we want you for this other role. And he's like, well, I don't want to do it because I want to have a career. Like, I want to be successful. He's having lunch with Tom Cruise. And Tom Cruise goes to him, well, what kind of career do you want? Glenn Powell says, well, I want your career, Tom. And so apparently Tom Cruise told him, well, if you want my career, it's not about being the lead in a movie. It's about getting in a movie and being the outstanding part of it. Like, selling every movie you're in so that people can't take their eyes off you. And then he's blown up because of his role in Top Gun, right? He's not the lead. He's barely a side character, but that's when his career's taken a little ramp up. So there you go. Other than that, other than Twisters,
Jesus, dude.
I watched 2 more movies this week. I watched Sisters Act.
Yeah, okay.
Right. I'm going to go see the theatre show
Ah.
in November. So I'd never seen it. So yeah.
What'd you think, man?
Yeah, it's fun. It's okay. Not as good as the next movie I saw. Probably, this is my favorite movie I saw this week. This and Twisters. Hackers.
Such a good movie.
Oh, such a good movie, dude.
1995 Hackers. That is a fun movie. they just knew so little about computers, whoever wrote that film. It's just completely outrageous. But it's got so many quotable lines. Like, everyone in the movie is yelling, hack the planet. Hack the planet! Hack the planet. But that's not my favorite line. My favorite line of Hackers was the one that I used to say a lot when we were younger, actually, which is mess with the best, die like the rest.
That's great. Yeah, that's great. Dude, I am a big fan of Matthew Lillard. So That movie's high up on my list. That and Scooby-Doo.
Oh, it's so good, man. Matthew Lillard is Scooby-Doo. He's
Shaggy, bro.
Typecast as the stoner in
Yeah.
everything he does. He's good in this too, man. He's good in this, playing his Scooby-Doo type character. But yeah, that was it for this week. I watched Presumed Innocence. I like binge watched it on Jordan's recommendation. I love it. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, me too.
I'm sold. I can't wait for the finale, which is coming up this week.
We can't really talk about much because these boys I don't think have seen it, but one day we'll be able to chat
One
about
day,
it.
man. One day I'll watch more than my one allocated movie for the week.
If we make it for the podcast, he'll watch it, but otherwise, there's no chance. There's no chance. All right. Well, with all that said, unless anyone has any other pod business, we can get straight to the main event, the main attraction.
Hell yeah.
Heck yeah. So this week, our main attraction is 1998's Dark City director's cut. Rupert Murdoch's son, John Murdoch, awakens in a bathtub with no memory and a murdered hooker. Relatable. Unable to remember that he is rich and cannot be arrested, he flees the scene as the leather-clad strangers attempt to hunt him down. Who is John Murdoch? Who are the strangers? And why is it always nighttime in this dark city? 1998's Dark City.
That was great, man.
Fellas. Dark City. Now, we watched a different version for this one.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody, I think, but our guest Brendan watched the director's cut. That's right. And Brendan watched the cinema version.
The theatrical.
And there's a little bit of drama about the two different versions, right? Where the theatrical version and the director's cut famously has an opening dialogue that spoils the entire movie.
They Blade Runner it, man.
Do you remember hearing the dialogue, Brendan? What did you think of it?
I first watched this film when we discussed it, I would say early COVID during lockdowns, and I forgot that happened, and it ruins it.
Yeah.
Why did they do that?
So it does ruin it, because I distinctly, and we'll get into it, I was very confused for the first 30 minutes of this film. I had no idea what was going on. It does seem like, I've listened to it, it does seem like they give a lot away.
First, there was darkness. Then came the strangers. They were a race as old as time itself. They had mastered the ultimate technology, the ability to alter physical reality by will alone. They called this ability tuning. But they were dying. Their civilization was in decline. And so they abandoned their world, seeking a cure for their own mortality. Their endless journey brought them to a small blue world in the farthest corner of the galaxy. Our world. Here they thought they had finally found what they had been searching for.
So look, we can get into it. So the film, as I kind of mentioned in the open, it opens up with the lead of the movie, John Murdoch, and he wakes up in a bathtub and he's got no memory. He wakes up, he's shocked, and he's in a room, and there's a dead prostitute in the room with him, or they call them hookers in the movie, so I should keep with that, dead hooker in the movie. He wakes up, he gets a call from Kiefer O'Sutherland's character, who's doing a very interesting accent or lisp or like slow talking.
Speech impediment. Who knows, man? I don't know what to call it.
There's something going on. We will 100% get into that. He wakes up, Kiefer calls him and is very vague, but essentially tells him, you need to get away, that they're coming for you. It's kind of like the Matrix scene. And he flees the apartment with the dead prostitute in it. And these strangers, these leather-clad strangers, break into his room and they're clearly looking for him. So this is the start of the film. What were you guys thinking? Did you guys know what was going on? What were your emotions when you, because for me, I was completely lost, but I was interested, but I was like, what is happening in this film straight away?
I was very confused.
Was it your first time watching this?
It's my first time watching it, yeah.
It was my first time watching it as well.
The movie just throws you into it. There's not, outside of, in the director's cut, you just go.
That's it.
You know, just a man wakes up in a bathtub. Who is this man?
Would you say you're a fish out of water, like in the opening scene?
That's interesting.
I would say that I am a fish out of water.
The motifs are a little on the nose. I mean, the first thing he does upon waking up is break a fishbowl and then free the fish.
Yes, he saves the little goldfish. There was a note here that I didn't notice myself, but when I was researching the film, someone noticed it. I'll see if anyone else noticed it. But whether this is intentional or whether this is just a part of the film, apparently there's a little bit of foreshadowing in this scene. Did anybody notice any foreshadowing?
No, nothing I've written down.
So what I've heard online is that there's the close up of John's shoes before he puts them on. But why can you see the shoes? Because it shows there's no scuffs or marks on the shoes. They've never been
Interesting.
worn before.
Huh.
Maybe.
I did not notice that.
Maybe.
If they did a 4K release of this film, I might have noticed any scuff
Is
shoes.
that a Roger Eggert fucking special, that one?
My immediate thoughts are I heard one of the sound effects at the start of the film, and I'm like, it immediately made me think of the Matrix.
Oh yeah,
It instantly. It was a similar sound effect.
the whole intro you can draw parallels with the intro scene of the Matrix. I think.
I mean, the whole movie is beat to beat
Yeah,
the plot of the Matrix.
pretty much right.
Yeah, 100%. Well, moving on, he's escaped out of here. He goes downstairs, and people are kind of waking up, which is unusual. They're on the ground, they get up, kind of flees from the hotel that he's staying in. And then we kind of jump to Jennifer Connelly? What's her name? Jennifer Connelly. And she's kind of doing the Jessica Rabbit sexy 40s 50s style singing, right? We catch up with with her, who turns out to be his wife, which we soon find out. Now, singing wise, what do we think? Do we think that she's singing, or do we think it's dubbed over?
That was a question I had in my notes, man. And I think she's singing, and I think she shouldn't be. That's what I have to say about that.
Me too, man. She's a generational talent.
You think she's singing, Brendan?
Yeah, she's an all-star, dude.
You think she's singing, Zach? You think she's singing, Zach?
You know what? This film shot in the 90s, so I'm going to say it was 80 yard. You know.
Okay. So Brendan is incorrect.
Damn it.
Zach and Jordan are correct, and the reasoning is in the original cut, in the cut that you watched, Brendan.
No.
She is dubbed over.
I
In
called
the
it, dude. I
director's
knew it.
cut, it is her own vocal.
Oh my god.
And you're right, she's not a fantastic singer.
Not great.
Although I thought she's very good considering she's an actor, not a singer.
This does not lower my opinion of her at all.
The reason she doesn't sound good is because in the story that we're about to go through, she has never sung before first night as a singer. Or so the
Jesus
fans
Christ, dude.
say. There's a lot of explaining and overthinking of this film if you read it online. How much is intentional and how much is grasping at straws, you've really got to try to figure out yourself. we get Kiefer again, Kiefer Sutherland, who's playing this weird kind of doctor character with a limp, and like he's young because he's young at this time, but he's got a limp and he's struggling to talk, and he's playing, I don't know if he's meant to be older or if he's just meant to be kind of disabled in some way, but essentially he comes and meets Emma, he meets the singing wife, and they go to his lab because he tries to get her there. And he's got some sort of weird rat maze, right? Giant rat maze that's in a spiral. And we just get a dump of information from Kiefer basically saying that, I'm your husband's doctor, and if he contacts you, you need to let me know before anyone else. Then he puts another rat in the rat maze, but then the rat disappears.
Dude.
I'm not sure what's going on with this maze. That whole scene seemed really...
There's a few continuity errors, man, that I've spotted. And this is probably just one of them.
Can I share something interesting?
Please do.
The spiral motif that appears throughout the movie, like carved onto the bodies, scrawled all over the walls and all that. When I was doing some very light research on the film, looking for the juicy subreddits discussing it, I found a post in a subreddit called Escape the Matrix that was discussing it. And it seems to be a generic cooker subreddit. And they pointed out that the spirals are apparently a symbol in their cooker logic for the pedophile cabal that runs the world. And so they were like, they're all over it, man.
God.
They knew.
Holy
They knew.
Shit. Holy shit. God, man, dude. I've been saying it for years, man. The internet was a mistake.
Okay. That's interesting.
They never should have fucking invented it.
The spirals are interesting because they're all over this film. In the making of which I watched, they say the director says that they're because it's renewing like the spiral because they keep going on and on and on is the idea.
He could be.
So a little less entertaining than a pedophile ring. He could be covering,
Most likely is.
you know,
Dude, he's in on it.
He would.
and he would cover if he was on that. So
You think Ouroboros would be more fitting for something like that, but I'll let it slide.
it's probably hard to CGI that with your mind power because the tuning's meant to look like a spiral. I didn't pick that up for ages. Apparently,
Oh, that's right. The city layout.
Yeah, I kind of got it. It's kind of like a little vortex thing.
I noticed something organically, not on Reddit, in the next scene. Is so we go back to Murdoch and he's out in the street and he's freaking out. He doesn't know who he is. Why is there a dead hooker back in his room, etc. And in the window of one of the shops he walks past, the sign says that they'll be back at 3 p.m. even though it's clearly nighttime. I thought that was interesting. I don't know, like a little bit of they give you a little bit of breadcrumbs there.
Interesting.
It's a little bit interesting. Look, at this point, we meet the next character and probably the third lead or crew lead of the film, which is the detective played by William Hurt. And we also meet his crazy ex-partner who used to be a detective but has gone insane. And they've gone into the room where the dead prostitute is. And we get a little bit of an info dump about how there's 6, I think, dead prostitutes so far, or this is the 6th or the 7th or whatever. And they're trying to hunt John Murdoch down. A lot of info dumps in this film. A lot of info dumps. But John Murdoch is basically, he's pushed into action. We still don't know what's going on, but there's a GPS on his wallet. He's left his wallet at the automat and he goes down to find it. Now, guys, what's an automat?
I had to look it up, man, because I had no fucking idea. Turns out they were invented in like the 1860s. I don't know exactly where, but essentially it's just a fast food restaurant where they serve you food through lockers and you go sit at a table and eat. Am I reading? Is that correct?
Correct.
Crazy, dude. I didn't even know. I had no idea they existed.
I thought they had made it up for this movie, but apparently they're real things.
The 1860s, dude, they were doing this.
Yeah, who could have hugged it? But it's basically a giant room that he goes into, and it's got little windows, little glass windows that you can open if there's a little coin holder. You put your coin in, and you get like there's an apple or a packet of cigarettes or whatever you want to buy, and it's a little diner out the front. It's kind of like an understaffed diner, except there are staff behind the machines. So John's in here. And there are 2 cops in here with him. And essentially, one of the staff members, he's like, hey, my wallet's here. Can you help me? Staff member puts the wallet in the little window, but John doesn't have any money. The police are here. He's running from the police because he's potentially murdered this prostitute. And then he's trying to open this window. He can't figure it out. All of a sudden, somehow he's able to open it. And there's a little CGI visual effect. The cops notice this. And obviously, there's probably a APB out for his arrest, and the cops start to harass him. John, what happens after the cops start to harass him?
Dude, why does that chick fucking come and help him?
So a prostitute comes, another prostitute.
We see her initially when he's walking into the automat, by the way, and she gives him the eyes, but no dialogue is exchanged.
She knows a John when she sees one.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, he's just a mark.
Sometimes you don't need words, bro.
Just a mark.
Just a mark indeed. The police are questioning him, and John in his confused state is in no he's going to incriminate himself immediately when this prostitute comes out and basically saves him, gets the police off his back, and is like, come home with me back to my area, which, you know, she's got to make a living. You know, not illegal in our country. So anyway, he saves there, doesn't get arrested in the hooker's apartment.
So creepy.
Murdoch basically tries to murder the hooker and like weirdly threatens her and is like, oh, you shouldn't do what you're doing because what if I'm the murderer? And kind of gives her weird.
He doesn't try to murder her, dude, but he does say some weird shit to this chick.
Weird, creepy eyes.
He's just menacing.
Now, there is a difference here between the director's cut and the theatrical cut.
Is there?
Oh, okay.
In this version, the director's cut, Murdoch notices that she has a child and stops being creepy, sees the child and leaves. And there's kind of a vague feeling that maybe if the child wasn't there, Murdoch may have done something because he is staring daggers at this prostitute. I believe there's no child at all in your version of the film. Is that right, Brendan?
No, I don't recall anything like that.
That's weird.
Yeah, so the child comes back a few times as well.
I never thought he was going to try and kill this chick. I just thought he was being a really creepy dude and he was terrible at acting. That's what I was like, wow, this is bad. It's like, how do you know I'm not a murderer? They just some creepy laugh. Yeah, I don't know, man.
I guess seeing the child maybe reinforces that he wouldn't do it.
He's not a murderer.
Because it's said multiple times throughout. She does, the head detective both say, you don't look you don't seem like a murderer, which I think is kind of like the, hinting at the overall plot throughout.
He does mention in the next scene or in a couple of scenes down when he meets his wife that he said, I went to this hooker's apartment to see if I am a murderer, if I did, and I didn't. So the vibe I got from this cut is that the child makes it less clear whether or not he actually isn't the serial killer or he is. And in the normal cut, it's pretty clear he's not because he doesn't murder her.
Yeah, but like he almost didn't choose to go to this hooker's apartment. She came and saved him. He didn't ask her to. And then she was like, come back to my place. It just...
Yeah, but if you're a drug addict, if I'm addicted to cocaine and someone's like, come back to mine and do cocaine, I say, no, I can't because I have an addiction issue. So if a prostitute comes up to you, if you're addicted to murdering prostitutes, you've killed 6 so far, you say, no, I couldn't possibly because I just can't, I'm going to get addicted. I can't be trusted at your house because I'll murder you because that's my thing.
I mean, he's got the memories, man. He has those murderous memories.
Now, there's a little bit of the film's got a bit of nudity in it. You see him nude at the start. You see his butt. You see the prostitutes nude and carved on. The film was given an R rating, right? But apparently, it was given an R rating because it was weird. Do you guys think it deserves an R rating? What would you rate the film?
Didn't we go through this last time? An R rating in America is different to an R rating in Australia. So was it an R rating in Oz?
I'm not sure what it was in Oz.
Interesting.
In the making of documentary, they mention it and they basically say that at the time they were with New Line Cinema, who was an independent production company, and they're not a big one of the big, Waterburns or whatever. And the MPAA is apparently extremely unkind to independent features and will just rate them whatever they want, whether they think it's right or not. They don't really care. Apparently, before New Line Cinemas got bought out by Warner Bros., they couldn't even get anyone at the MPAA to return their call about the R rating. It's just R rating, that's it. Don't bother calling those weird Australian filmmakers back.
Okay, so here's something interesting, right?
Yeah.
If a movie's rated R in the USA, if you're under 17, you can still see the movie accompanied by a parent or an adult.
Nice.
That is interesting.
And I think here is 18 plus, right? Even without a parent, like you can't even go with if you're under 18.
I believe so, but we rate so little R. It doesn't really.
Yeah, exactly. But I think R is a bit more common in the US because 17 is the age cutoff and you can still see it with a parent or guardian.
I feel like an R rating in America is like more like a MA here.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But I'm assuming it still affects box office for sure.
I would imagine so. You want to get those.
I don't know if this deserves an R rating. Like there's, some mild nudity and then there's a couple of heads getting, like the head gets burst open at one point, but that's really it. It's just weird.
Yeah, there's a few heads exploding.
Just a weird movie.
And I'm sure they could have spoken to someone. They would have got rid of the nudity to get the lower rating if they could have, I would imagine.
I don't know.
So it only got an M in Australia from the looks of it.
Really?
There you go.
Not even MA.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yes, so M in Australia is, we recommend 15 plus, but anyone can go and see it. MA is 15 plus or supervised. Otherwise, you cannot see it.
Yeah, right.
So our ratings are a little bit different over here. So moving forward, Murdoch he's left the prostitute's house, whether or not he was going to kill her, not going to kill her, obviously disagree on that, but he's left the house. He's just walking around and he goes by a bridge or billboard pass, and as he steps on it, this was a little bit weird. He steps on it and it breaks under him, but then it's not broken under him. I couldn't tell, is he seeing the future? Is he fixing it? Is it bouncing back up? But essentially, he walks on this pass, and the strangers appear. 4 leather-clad strangers appear, and the strangers are in kind of black leather BDSM gear, and their face is kind of makeup white. So very, very creepy looking. And Mr. Hands, who's one of the main strangers, walks up to him and tells him to sleep. And then when he doesn't sleep, he seems quite frustrated and he pulls a little knife on him. But he steps on the same board that we saw break before. It breaks under him and he falls to his death. He falls ages, like it's a giant fall.
It's a big fall.
John then looks at it and he uses the tuning. He uses power to make more of the boards disappear. And it causes another stranger to fall, and this stranger's being hung by a rope. And when this happens, a third stranger who's just kind of standing there doing nothing, the billboard's got a little hand, and he wasn't paying attention, and he gets his head cut off, the top of his head by the hand, which is like come on, mate, pay attention. And John is looking at him when out of the top of his head, this weird, strange CGI bug kind of crawls out and dies. While he's doing this, Mr. Hand, who's now actually appeared behind him again, somehow he's floated. We thought he fell to his death, but he's jumped up and appeared behind him. And this little child stranger, which I probably should have mentioned before, they get kind of stun locked. They're like screaming and grabbing their head. And he runs away. So this is one of the few action scenes in the movie. What did you guys think? Does this action scene do it for you?
It was weird, man.
I mean,
It's pretty dire.
you know, it's not great, like, especially if you're drawing comparisons to The Matrix. You know, the action doesn't quite hold up. But you know what? I like the designs of like the little switchblades. I think they're cool.
Yeah, they're cool.
Yeah, it's a little bit.
I like the outfits of these evil dudes. They look pretty fucking dope.
Yeah. It's a little bit goofy.
I love the way everything in this film.
Oh,
looks.
yeah, dude.
I think
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
that's just
action is
overarching.
massively underwhelming, but everything looks so.
But I
good.
don't think it necessarily bills itself as an action movie, you know?
No.
I think that direct comparisons to the Matrix movie are unfair. The Matrix movie has 3 times the budget, and the Matrix movie not only has it got 3 times the budget, it gets to buy some of the sets from this movie, meaning they can stretch that budget even further.
Sure.
Obviously, people are always going to compare them. One of them is also one of the greatest films of all time, like The Matrix, or at least whether you think it's the greatest movie of all time, it's one of the highest grossing. It's a tentpole movie. And the other one's a little cult classic film, an Australian film versus an international film. So action wise, this scene still confused me. I did not know what was going on without the little descriptor at the start. Like, you don't know about the tuning powers. You're like, what? How is he making the thing disappear? What are these bugs? It gets more confusing in a second. But before I get into that, I want to talk about probably the best thing that the movie has going for it. And that's, of course, the lead stranger, Mr. Hand.
Oh, dude.
Who is, of course, he's Richard O'Brien. What's he famous for, guys? Do we know what he's from?
No idea.
Not sure?
Unsure.
Oh, it's a big one. Brendan?
No clue,
Oh,
dude.
shit. I know. I looked it up, but I know now.
He is, of course, famous for playing the Thieves Guild leader in the 2000s classic Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, of course, dude.
Oh.
But before that, he wrote the Rocky Horror Show, and he played Riff Raff in the film adaptation of the Rocky Horror Show. So he's the creator of the Rocky Horror Show, which is obviously quite a famous piece. He essentially came onto the set, and he's a big get, right? He's a big get. He's probably, other than Kiefer Sutherland, he's probably the most famous, definitely the most legendary.
Hey, man, don't shortchange Jennifer Connelly.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, Jennifer Connelly's huge. Too.
She's huge as well. She is huge as well, but she's barely in the film. Other than that, he came on the set, and day one he comes on set and he gets dressed up and he just starts acting. He's the one that comes up with how the strangers act. And the director goes, okay, cool. The rest of you strangers, copy him. You do what he's doing. So essentially, after that, sorry, we're all good to no one's got anything else about the bridge fight.
One thing I do want to add was while John's being, approached by the strangers on the scaffolding, there's just a brief cut to the face of the child wearing a bowler hat, and I couldn't help but laugh at that moment. It was very confused.
Yeah, I know the exact cut you're talking
Absolutely.
about.
So, there is and I didn't mention it before, there is a child stranger. So 3 of them are adults, and one of them I'll go into who he is in a second because I do like that actor a lot. But one of them is a child. The child doesn't do anything. There's just a shot to the child. But the child does come back later. But essentially, immediately after this scene, so he runs away, and one of them's had their head chopped off and died, and another one fell to their death but came back. Another one fell and was hanging themselves. So you think 2 or 3 of them are dead. But we travel underground, or it feels like underground. I'm not sure where it is. And all the strangers, which in my notes, but I didn't know they were called the strangers from the start of the film, so I had them called weirdos. All the strangers, all the weirdos are having a meeting, including the ones that we just saw die, right? They're all sad that Mr. Quick, who must be one of the people who died, has died and didn't make it. Poor Mr. Quick. It's one of the quotes by Bruce Spence, who is the tall stranger, the tallest one. And he's a fantastic Australian Kiwi actor. He's played quite a few things. He was the train man in The Matrix, the third one, if you remember that, the really tall guy. He's the mouth of Sauron in the extended cut, if you've got the extended cut of The Lord of the Rings, like the 5-minute bit where he's in front of the, talking to Aragorn when he shows up with his armor. He's played an alien in Star Wars, and he plays Zed in Shania's, one of my partner's favorite childhood shows, Legend of the Seeker, where he's fantastic. He's kind of like he's a wizard, but he's not like a Gandalf wizard. He's like kind of a not a bad boy wizard, but either way, it's great. He's fantastic. But all the strangers are downstairs, and it's shot really well. It's a really interesting set, and the one, they're all worried and upset that one of the strangers has died, and it turns out the one that dies, at least we find out later, is the one that's had its head cut off and the bugs come out. And the other ones that died have not died. They've just come back to life, or they've reappeared. So at this point in the film, I'm thinking, having not seen the film before, I'm like, so are they in the Matrix? Is it a Matrix thing? Is that why people say this movie's like the Matrix?
Oh, interesting.
But then I'm like, why is one dead? Is it because of the brain thing that's come out? I'm completely lost still. At this point, I still have no idea what is happening. So
yeah, I'm right there with you, dude.
I'm still very confused. But the movie continues relentlessly, never stopping. And we're back with our hero, John Murdoch. And he ambushes his wife at home. His wife has, in the previous scene, which I cut, he went to the detective. He went to William Hurt. And she's like, my husband's missing. And he's like, well, we think your husband's murdering prostitutes. And she's like, oh, forget about it. Actually, he's not missing. But essentially, John is now back at their apartment, meeting his wife, and he tells his wife about the situation where he's at the hooker's house and how he's like, can't have been me because I didn't want to murder her. I didn't enjoy it. So, I mean,
Tried it. It wasn't for me,
That's what you'd say as well, if you were murdering hookers. But, it's not for me to say. William Hurt confronts him. The detective confronts him, having followed his wife, Emma, and there is a chase which occurs at the Matrix stairway scene, which they bought off the movie. Another reason the films are similar. It's kind of a chase, and eventually Murdoch escapes by creating a really bad looking CGI door, and he goes through the door, closes the door up. I didn't think much of the chase scene, to be honest.
Him jumping over the rail especially is not good action. From memories.
Yeah. The action in the film is probably not, I think we were saying before, it's not the strong point.
No.
And this chase is a bit, look, you're adding to the mystery. He's on the run. The cops are trying to catch him. The strangers are trying to catch him. Who can he trust? Next, the detective, who's still hot on the case, goes and he meets up with his crazy ex-partner who popped up before. He's an ex-detective who's gone insane. He's no longer on the force. And he goes into his room, and it's straight out of A Beautiful Mind. He's got spirals on the walls and probably feces. I don't know. But it's this, it's crazy. He's a crazy person, right?
Eddie.
Was his name Eddie?
His name was Eddie, dude.
Eddie.
Nice.
Okay, so Eddie's a crazy person. And I didn't really write down what he was talking about, but he's complaining. He's saying, I can't remember the past, essentially. Like, I can't get, how far back can you remember? Because I can't remember very far back. The case is bullshit. The John Murdoch thing, the prostitutes are bullshit. None of it matters. I want to draw on my wall. The next scene, and this is probably one of my favorite scenes of the movie, because at this point, like, I do not know what's happening. At this point, I'm beyond confused. Kiefer Sutherland is, and maybe we'll address it. I think I was going to address it later, but I think we'll address it here.
No, it needs to be addressed now, dude.
The next scene, Kiefer Sutherland is in the pool. You heard me right. That's not a mistake. He's in a pool. The movie goes to a character in a pool now. He's in a big pool when Mr. Hands, who's the lead stranger, appears. He shows up, and Kiefer appears to be terrified. He's shaking in the water, in the middle of the water, and he's freaking out. And Mr. Hands says, Murdoch can tune. Why can he tune? And he's asking him about the imprint he performed on him. And he's telling him about it. Kiefer Sutherland, I don't know what he's doing in the film. I will quickly go over. There is a difference here between the two cuts. And Brendan, you tell me how much this would have changed your viewing of the film. So in the director's cut, which is the cut that we saw, Murdoch is here at the pool somehow. God knows how he got to the pool or how he found it. But he's in the pool and he's listening to them speak. But
He's in the room or not in the pool?
no, he's in the room.
He's in the room.
They cut to that at the end of the director's cut, though.
No, it's in the director's cut. It's not in the regular cut.
Oh, it's not. Oh, okay.
So Brendan never got to see that. And that changes
Interesting.
everything,
Mm.
probably.
Mm.
Kiefer.
Do we learn much about the Keith that conversation in the pool? I can't remember.
No. He's just afraid, and we learned that Murdoch can tune. We don't know what tuning is, but he can tune.
Yeah.
And we learned
that Kiefer has a heart problem, a heart condition.
And we learned that Kiefer did an imprint on him. We don't know what an imprint is, but he imprinted him.
He doesn't say that the imprint failed to the strangers, does he?
Not say that it failed. No. So the strangers do not know that they're not sure what's going on. They just know that this guy. They're mostly worried because he's not going to sleep. They're like, you're not having your nap, mate. You're going to be grumpy. Kiefer Sutherland is doing a interesting performance here. He is like slow talking like he's out of breath, like he has asthma.
Being too generous, Nick.
He's talking like he has a lisp. But in the pool he doesn't, but I guess it's hard to act and swim. He's acting terrified. Guys, what nationality is Kiefer Sutherland in this film?
How are we supposed to know?
By the accent.
Or are you just asking what we think? Because
By the accent. What accent's he doing?
Some shitty British American accent.
Shitty British American, Zach?
Yeah, I got no idea, man. No idea.
Same, Brendan, not sure.
Some species of goblin.
Yeah. So he is a German scientist in the script.
All right.
He is doing, listen to it. That's a German accent, apparently. Kiefer, yes.
Well, hang on. His memory's been fucking erased. How does he know?
How does he know what? What his accent is?
He's probably been given. Oh no, his memory. His memory has been erased.
His memory has been erased, but the information that I got about Kiefer Sutherland doing a German accent is from outside the film world. This is what he's meant to be doing. He talks about it. Kiefer seems to be in good spirit about his performance in the film. Like he kind of laughs about it and stuff. I don't know what he was doing, but it's atrocious. He is terrible in this film.
Dude,
and
I maintain it's not entirely his fault.
I think the film would have been a lot better without Kiefer Sutherland. But we'll march on. That's my opinion. We'll march on.
Now that you mentioned German, it is kind of reminiscent of a really bad Doctor Strangelove impression.
Yeah. I wonder if that's what he's doing. Even the weird, like, physical limps and stuff and the facial contorting is very Strangelove.
Listen, man, at the end of the day, the director has the say in how a character acts, and he let that shit happen. He let that shit happen, man. He could have been like, nah, Kiefer, this is not going to work, bro. You got to change it up. And he didn't do it.
I think we've judged Kiefer too harshly.
Hey, man, when Kiefer Sutherland's putting out gold like that, you just got to let him cook.
So
let him cook.
Total artistic freedom. Do what you need to do, Kiefer.
I read my notes that I wrote in my notebook, and then I'll read what I've got after I thought about it a little bit. So for the next scene, I've got weirdos processing old items. Doctor making a memory. Shit talking, not scared now? Huge metal face. That's what I've got here.
Yeah, that's some good note taking.
In the next scene, we're back with the strangers underground in their kind of cool looking underground matrixy style area, and they seem to be like they've got like a long conveyor belt, and they're like doing something like processing toys and clocks, and Kiefer Sutherland is now with them. He's out of the pool. I guess he dried off, and it's kind of weird though because he's no longer scared. He's kind of shit talking them and being cocky and talking about how he's creating memories. We find out that imprints are creating memories. And I don't know what's going on. I thought he was scared, but he's not scared. It's very confusing. Thinking back to the film, that's never really addressed. I don't know if he was just feeling that day on set or if something changed, but the set is amazing. The giant face that then opens up into a clock.
It looks amazing.
I'm a big fan of that. The
whole underground motif is sick as hell. The like weird chamber where it's like the chamber from Star Wars, and they're all convening. It's sick.
Even just having like 50 of these strangers all
Yeah.
in their quite impressive looking BDSM gear. It looks good. Like the makeup looks good. This movie's made in 98. Like it is visually very pleasing, and probably because of the cinematographer. But we get our next big moment of the film, which is the tuning. Midnight kind of hits, and all the strangers go to this giant face. The giant face opens to reveal a clock, and they all start tuning together using powers. You see all of the citizens all over the city fall asleep no matter where they are. Trains just stop, cars stop, everybody just goes to sleep. And after they're asleep, the channeling they're doing starts to change building. You see buildings grow and stop and do all sorts of stuff. The strangers are also carrying new people around. You see them bringing a new person into a barber shop, and then Kiefer goes and imprints a new memory into this person. And you get probably the film's only moment of comedy. Maybe there's another one where just before it, you've got this poor lower class family arguing, they're arguing with each other about having to work so much overtime. And then the strangers come, and in front of us, like in front of our eyes, we see them transformed into a rich upper class family as their little hovel gets turned into a mansion in front of us using a mix of miniature and CGI work. We get this really cool shot of the table expanding. I don't know how they did that too. No idea how they made that table expand, but it looked great. I thought all of these CGI big moments where they're changing the city and doing this stuff looks really good.
Yeah, I'm absolutely on board with it. Some of the shots, there's a few shots where I just cannot, because a lot of them look practical too. Like a lot were practical, but like some of them, I cannot understand how they did them. I'm surprised they don't get into it in the director's commentary, but that would have been cool to watch.
I think that the building, I didn't go deep dive into it, but I think that the buildings were model work, and then obviously it's covered up with CGI to make it work. I'm not sure. I don't know how they've done it, but it's really good. There's a few little things here. I made a note here that the strangers are making the entire house change. They're turning a little shack into a mansion, but the stranger has to go and manually put a tablecloth on the table and put like candles and stuff. It's like, why would they need to do that? Maybe it's just for looks or whatever.
Yeah, that's a weird choice.
During the tuning, when you've got the group shots in the underground lair of all of the strangers, using their collective brain power, what did you think of the weird noise they made with their mouth while they were doing it?
Oh, the clattering with their mouth. I should have mentioned that. That's very, very cool.
Did they explain that ever? Because it also appears to like disappear at some point. Like they stop doing it. Or is it only when they're tuning? It's just very odd.
I think it's only in that shot when they're all tuning the city.
There's another shot where I think the billboard, they make those weird noises too. And then kind of just stop.
Some of the shots were done. The cinematographer was a man called Dariusz. It's a Polish name. I may have pronounced it wrong.
Dariusz Wolski.
And I think his work is some of the best work
it's phenomenal.
On the film. Like he's done a few other films that you would have heard of. Pirates of the Caribbean. It seems like he's worked with all of Ridley Scott's most recent movies. The Martian, The Last Duel, Prometheus. And before he was working with Ridley Scott, he was working with his brother Tony Scott. So the Scotts obviously love him. But he talks about on the making of, well, he's basically come from working with Tony Scott. And the Scott brothers are kind of very get it done type people. And you hear that about their sets all the time. Their sets love. Essentially, he says that he learned if you want to light up a scene or you want to put a camera somewhere, it's not meant to be in a set. What you need to do is get a chainsaw and just cut a piece out of the set. So day one, he comes and he goes and purchases a chainsaw, probably from Bunnings or somewhere, because it's in Sydney. And he gives it to one of his assistants and he starts pointing at areas and he's like, cut that out, cut that out, cut that out. And the set designers are there and they're like, what? That took us so long to build. And he's like, well, I got to put a light there. How am I going to light this? They're really clever though.
He did it then, man.
And I like that because it's kind of like a little bit of gonzo filmmaking still that modern films don't really have, just touch it up in post, make it lighter there or whatever, or put a giant ceiling light on.
Yeah,
but I thought I'd mention that because I think the cinematography is great.
You get a chainsaw. That's the way to do it, man. That's how you get shit done, bro. The 90s was, they were built different back then, man.
Yeah, dude, absolutely.
Give me a chainsaw, I can light up anything.
You can get it done.
Yeah.
Would you guys cut into a set? Would you be nervous?
Dude, probably ask permission first.
Nah, man, just go for it. Just go for it. It's all plaster.
Can't cut too much. You got to resell that to the Matrix, mate. You can't cut it up too bad.
That is
good
true.
point.
That is
got to
true.
make our money back. Immediately after this, we have this big scene where the city has changed, and the whole time Murdoch is seeing this happen because he's not fallen asleep. Everyone else has fallen asleep, but Murdoch is wide awake. So he sees the strangers changing people and he sees the doctor helping them. So the doctor is obviously, we find out at this point the doctor is on the stranger's side. So he's been talking to the wife, he's talking to John at the start of the movie. Obviously he's not trustworthy. Murdoch confronts him, Kiefer, and he's very afraid again, and he's kind of doing whatever he's doing with his acting, his German accent or whatever. But now Kiefer's saying like, you got to be careful. If the strangers see us together, we'll be in trouble. But Murdoch's like, look, I don't know what's going on. Explain this movie to me. What's the plot? Tell me right now. And Kiefer goes to tell him, but Murdoch loses his cool and like gives him a mind blast and blows him away and then runs away. Right? We've spoken about Keith Sunderland, sorry. There was another actor originally who was cast as the Doctor who's in the film right now. So what I want you guys to do is put a guess with me. I've got 4 answers for you.
Who's in the film?
And I want you to tell me who was originally going to play the Doctor before they went with Kiefer. A, the detective, William Hurt. B, the detective's crazy partner. C, Mr. Book, Alan Richardson, who hasn't come into the film yet, but he's the old stranger, like the last one at the very end, like the kind of the seems kind of like maybe he's the leader. Like, do you guys know which one that is? They have the mind fight at the end.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then D, Mr. Wall, who's Bruce Spence. He's the tall, weirder looking one. I spoke about him before. He was in Lord of the Rings. So it was A, the detective, B, the detective's crazy partner, C, Mr. Book, the old guy, D, Mr. Wall, the tall stranger.
Detective.
Yeah, lock me in for William Hurt.
William Hurt?
I think William Hurt's too good of a fit for a gruff detective in a noirish film.
He looks kind of German though.
I know he could pull off a German accent, dude.
Yeah, that's true. I'm just going to be an outlier here. I'm going to say the crazy former partner.
Good guesses by all, but not everyone can be correct. The answer was William Hurt.
Boom.
Dude, there we go.
Yeah.
William Hurt was originally cast to play. William Hurt was originally cast to play the detective, but the director felt that making the character younger gave him more reason to try and rebel. I don't know how true this is. This is what they say. I wonder if maybe it's more about getting a kind of slightly more famous person for the studio and stuff. They don't say that in the making of. They say they wanted someone younger. You know, Kiefer's just done Flatliners, Lost Boys. Whereas, like, William Hurt's coming off a real stinker in 1998. It's a stinker that I personally love. I've seen it a bunch of times. Lost in Space. 1998's Lost in Space.
Never seen it.
Plays the dad. Joey's in it. Fantastic. Gary Oldman's in it. It's great. When Kiefer got the script, he thought it was a mistake. And he's like, oh, they've meant to send it to my dad, Donald, because the script's still written as if it's for an older person. But he did it anyway.
Probably needed the cash, dude.
He may have needed the cash.
Why did he fucking do this movie? That's so bizarre.
I don't know. But talking about Kiefer and talking about him, in the making of, they mentioned how... So Kiefer had a trailer, as you do, like a little trailer that he goes in. And people would intentionally not go past his trailer because whenever they did, he had a bullwhip. Right? He was obsessed with bullwhips at the time. What a fucking nerd.
What a badass, dude. I don't know.
And he would like want to whip people. People would come by and he'd be like, hey. I don't know how to do his accent. Hey, take 5 steps and I'll get you. And he would like try each step you take, he'd try to get you by the foot. And then some of the stunt guys gave him like a whip because in Australia we use a whip as opposed to the wrangling thing they use in America.
The lasso, mate.
Casting what ifs, guys. Yeah, we talk about John Murdoch, the lead. We had some other options. Some other people were offered the role.
Keanu?
Watch, they didn't take it down. Not Keanu, but Johnny Depp.
Really?
And Tom Cruise.
Of course.
Now, they actually put the production on hold for a month because they got a rumor that Tom Cruise had read the script. They stopped making it. Like, oh my God, Tom Cruise, man, Tom Cruise might take it. Tom Cruise did not take it.
I think Johnny Depp would have done a better job.
Yeah, young Johnny, Edward Scissorhands.
Yeah, I think so, man.
He could have. Definitely could have done it.
Cruise would have elevated the action scenes.
Cruise, for sure.
100% he would have, yeah.
Cruise was never doing this movie. They should never have put the movie on hold.
No, there's no chance in hell.
And Jennifer Connelly's here again, and she's singing again. She's in the movie. She's involved. So after she sings, we go to the next scene. We're back with the strangers, and they have this cool little map of the city. It seems like they're using this little model map. It's got little models of the whole city, and they're using it to plan out what they're going to change. They're very organized. But Mr. Hand demands that they imprint Murdoch's memories into him so that they can use the information that he has from his memories to find him, because they still think that Murdoch's been imprinted and something's gone wrong. They don't realize that the imprinting's gone wrong and he doesn't have his memories. And this is obviously not a done thing because they say, if you get an imprint, you'll die. Our species can't handle the imprint. We get my favorite quote of the movie at this point where Mr. Hand says,
"Oh yes, Mr. Book. I have John Murdoch in mind."
Classic.
Unreal. You can't write this shit. Well, they could, but I couldn't.
That's incredible. That's an incredible line. Like, say what you will about the movie being confusing. That is my That's a great line. That's really good.
Mhm. I have a question.
Yes.
They're imprinting his memories. Are they imprinting the memories that they've previously imprinted onto him or his original memories?
These are the serial killer memories.
Interesting.
They're giving him the serial killer memories because obviously he's not actually a
So the ones they've recently imprinted on him.
Yes, and if any listeners are being confused, obviously you haven't watched the film.
I've watched it twice and I'm still confused.
Essentially, yes, the memories that they were planning on giving him were serial killer memories, and they give this to Mr. Hand so that they can use it to track him to see what he knows. Anyway, that line's awesome. I love that line. Roger Ebert loved the line. He loved the film. Roger Ebert gave this film 4 stars.
Out of?
He had 2 out of 5. He did 2 audio commentaries for the film, one for the regular cut, one for the director's cut.
Super fan.
And he called it the best film of 1998.
In 1998, which is insane to me.
Fellas, which of these films won Best Picture in 1998? Is it A, The Truman Show, B, Titanic, C, The Big Lebowski, D, Rushmore, or E, Dark City?
You say best film?
Oof.
Which one Best Picture?
Truman Show.
Dark City, baby.
Dark City all the way.
Dark City. We got 2 Dark Cities. We got 1 Truman Show.
I'm a Dark City stan. Dark City stan.
Truman Show.
No, it was Titanic. You guys don't remember Titanic Fever?
Of course it was. No, of course it was.
The Titanic Fever was running wild. That's the only reason Dark City didn't win. Look, I think it's great that Roger Ebert is a champion of this film, right? That's cool. It's good. He's a reviewer. He saw a cult film and he loves it. But he said that the thing was horrible and gave it 2.5 stars. So he is an absolute bum and cannot be trusted. Now, my grandmother, my nan, told me that I am related to Margaret, who is the lady who does the ABC show at the movies, which later moved to SBS and was rebranded The Movie Show, and they do movie reviews. I wrote to them and asked if they would do a director's commentary for Dark City, but didn't get a reply on that one. From this point forward, we'll never mention Roger Ebert again. I don't want him mentioned again, and I want all reviews to come from The Movie Show. Okay?
Sure.
So fellas, The Movie Show.
They didn't respond.
They did not respond.
God, family means nothing to these people.
On The Movie Show, they do 2 different ratings. David rates, Margaret rates. What did The Movie Show rate Dark City out of 5 in 1998 when they just came and saw it from the pictures?
5 out of 5, man.
5 out of 5 for both of them?
It's movie of the year.
Movie of the year? What do you guys think? Brenny?
Wait, what was the other film? Dark City and the 2. You mean the two hosts? What they gave?
They
it?
both give different ratings. They give their own ratings out of 5.
I'm going the opposite direction. I reckon they went 1.
One star.
Yep.
Brenny?
Agreeing with Zach. I think it was a unanimous 5 out of 5.
They liked it as well. David gave it 4 stars,
Damn.
and my great aunt gave it 4.5 stars.
Holy shit.
So that's
Roger was right.
There you go.
Dark City was robbed.
There you go. So I thought another interesting thing about this film, fellas, and you let me know, is that they say that the strangers are hive mind, right? They mention that a few times. Can anyone tell me what a hive mind is?
They can all communicate to each other telepathically, is my understanding, or they're all the same brain shared by multiple entities, is my understanding of it.
Perfect.
Am I right? Am I wrong?
No, perfect.
Hell yeah, dude. Let me go.
There's a couple of different types of hive minds or group minds.
Dude, group thing.
We never see them really act as a hive mind in this film, other than that one blink and you miss it time when they get stun locked when one dies. They don't seem to know information from each other or anything. So why was it included? It just makes the movie more confusing, but doesn't really add anything to it.
Got to keep you guessing, man.
If I could, I'll quickly go through some examples of hive minds in fiction that are interesting and to show the different hive minds, because there are different types. So we have like the Borg, obviously in Star Trek, are one of the famous hive minds, and these are like a full hive mind, like what you think of. And essentially the Borg are a hive mind that forcefully makes creatures join, and when they assimilate you, they steal your information and they add it to their own hive mind. They know everything that you know. And then in later movies of Star Trek, they add a Borg queen that controls the Borg. And so it's kind of like the Borg queen controls the drones, which is just mindless drones that they steal information from, and it all goes to one entity, the queen. So essentially the one entity, the Borg, is a queen, and that's one type of hive mind. Then you have something like the Zerg in StarCraft, where they're controlled by the Overmind or by Kerrigan, and there's no information transfer. They don't know anything. It's just that the Overmind is psychic and they're able to make the Zerg go where they want by putting out psychic signals. And then the Zerg just kill things where they go. And whether they're like a psychic parasite that's taken over this natural creature that's the Zerg, or whether they're an evolution of the Zerg, we don't really know, right? And then finally, the last one, and I won't go into too many. Another example of a hive mind is the Geth in Mass Effect 1. And the Geth are robots, and they were created by another alien race, the Quarians, to be laborers. And they're basically really dumb. They could just handle basic tasks. They can mine coal or whatever. But they wanted them to be able to complete more complex tasks. So what they did was allow them to network together and share CPU cycles so that they'd be smarter and they could do stuff like serve drinks and stuff. But then what happened is when enough of these robots were made, they became sentient and became an artificial intelligence. The Geth then questioned their creators and they're like, what is my purpose? Do I have a soul? And their creators tried to kill them. And the Geth in return wiped them out with only 1% of their population remaining. And they became kind of a nomad, like a planetless nomad. Right. And so that's another type of kind of hive mind. It's obviously a technical hive mind, right? That's the third type. And then the Wachowskis did a Netflix show called Sense8. And in Sense8, they have a brain orgy.
Forgot about that.
That's a good one. Finally, and I won't bore you anymore. Execute, the egg Pokemon.
No.
Execute is a group of 6 eggs that can communicate telepathically. And if any of the eggs are lost, they will get another egg, but it has to always be 6. It has to be balanced, right?
Dude.
And of course, each of the 6 eggs has a unique personality. So those are hive minds.
Pokemon were ahead of the curve, man. Dude, the Japanese are wild.
The Japanese are wild.
I think you forgot one important example of a hive mind.
Please.
Hit me.
Damn people that get the COVID vaccine.
Oh man, that's great. That's good shit.
There was one more that I couldn't remember where I'd seen it from, and I want to ask you guys to see if you guys remember. But I have this distinct memory, and it's probably some obscure sci-fi that you guys probably haven't seen. But it could be like Lex or maybe Andromeda. But there was a ship of humans. They were humanoids, and on the ship there was like 1,000 of them piloting the ship, but they're all hive mind together, so they were incredibly fast, and so people were afraid of them. But I googled it, and I have this distinct memory of it. Cannot find what show that's from. Does that ring a bell?
Yeah, I got nothing.
Negatory. Science fiction's for nerds, man.
We'll move on.
Yeah.
We'll move on. Anyway, those are hive minds. They're all very interesting and different types of hive minds. The strangers are none of those. Next time, clean up your script. Remove the hive mind thing. Not needed. It's just confusing.
Do they explicitly say that, or is it implied? Or do they say that in the director's commentary, or do they actually say
No,
that?
they do mention Kiefer mentions hive minds at some point, and yeah, for sure.
Oh, does he?
I think it's in the intro explainer in the theatrical cut.
Well, yeah, get rid of it.
Does the intro explainer in the theatrical cut explain that they're like dead bodies with aliens inside?
No, it doesn't go that.
I can't remember. I did watch it.
I don't remember. That gets mentioned at some point, right? Kiefer? Yeah.
It does get mentioned at some point.
Murdoch is looking for where he was born. He was born in Shell Beach, right? He asks people, hey, how do I get to Shell Beach? Where's Shell Beach? What's Shell Beach? And everybody's like, oh, yeah, I know Shell Beach. And he says, well, how do I get there? And no one can find it. And eventually he's tracking it down on the train system. I'm getting to Shell Beach. And the train never comes. The train to Shell Beach, it's impossible to get there. And we get the...
Dude, you can get there if you catch the express, dude.
You got to catch the express, but the express never stops. And the crazy ex-detective comes, and he explains to Murdoch, and he's like, I'm like you, I can't sleep. And he's kind of wild. I actually think his acting's pretty good in this movie.
I agree. When he was going psycho in the room and drawing swirls, yeah, that was pretty sick.
He does a good job.
Massive Boston accent.
Yeah, he does a very good job. But he basically says, I can't remember the past. Everything's BS, and like, don't worry about the murders. That's all nonsense. That's not real. You know, it's all wrong. I haven't been able to escape. I've been trying to get to Shell Beach forever. I can't escape. But don't worry, John. I've found an escape. I finally figured it out. Zach, what's the escape?
You did it, man.
Sweet death.
The sweet release of death.
He immediately throws himself in front of an express train. And when train meets man, train wins. That's
Absolutely.
what my dad always told me.
Most of the time.
Yeah, well, sometimes that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
But normally it does. If there's any children listening, don't try to beat the train.
Don't do it, man. Dude, I got to get to work in the morning. Do not do it.
Yeah, don't do it. It's very frustrating. And then look, after this, he goes and he meets Uncle Carl. Uncle Carl shows him some childhood photos. There's some things don't match up. The photo of him as a kid has got scars. He hasn't got a scar.
He's got no scars, man.
Uncle Carl betrays him and calls his wife. Come on, Carl. Be cool. Bros before hoes. Not cool, bro. Murdoch opens a little book, the book of Shell Beach, but it's empty. There's nothing in it. It's like, what's going on here? I didn't like the Uncle Carl bit, but then
I didn't like it either.
Did not like Uncle Carl.
snooze fest.
That whole scene kind of just like didn't need to be there, in my opinion.
Agreed. Cut it. Cut it. Cut it. Cut it.
It only serves to kick off the next part, man. That's it.
I like the next part though.
That next part is sick.
Next part is another action scene. And I think this one they actually do pretty well. So second tuning occurs. All the strangers come together and they chatter their teeth. As Murdoch's leaving his uncle's house, the stairs beneath him literally grow and expand and become super long. And they do it in the camera. It looks sick. I don't know how they do it. I don't know what kind of black magic they're doing there. I don't know if it's practical. I don't know if it's digital. I don't know what's going on, but it looks cool. Every time they expand something in this movie, I love it. He heads to the Matrix rooftop, the rooftop that Trinity will run on and make famous a year later. Not famous for this film, but he's on Trinity's rooftop, ripped to the Queen, and the entire city around him is changing in front of him. And it's not like the first time where it's a building would change a post or a building, like one building turn into a mansion. Literally entire buildings are changing shape and changing structure, and
Popping out of the ground, man.
the rooftop is dipping up and down, and he's running across the rooftops, jumping from rooftop to rooftop as it dips, when suddenly Mr. Hand ambushes him. Oh no, Mr. Hand's got him. Except Mr. Hand immediately gets taken out, immediately disarmed. Like, bro, come on. You gotta come correct if you're gonna go after John Murdoch. Rupert Murdoch's got that kid in karate training from day one. You should have known that. You had his memories, Mr. Hand.
They're not a race of fighters, man. They're a race of weird fucking things popping out of their forehead.
They do like to be very weird, don't they? After a brief chat where I think basically Mr. Hand says he wants to be human or he wants the soul or something. They're just kind of chatting. There's lots of chatting in this film. The changing rooftop knocks them apart, right? They knock him apart, and Murdoch grabs, as he's falling off the building, he grabs a handrail and he pulls himself up. And other strangers, it's not just Mr. Hand anymore. Now the other strangers arrive and give chase on the fire escape. But the buildings are literally moving. So you've got the fire escape on the side of a building and the building's merging into it on the screen. I don't know how they do it. Again, black magic. It looks awesome. Unfortunately, one of the strangers' coat is caught on the handrail.
He's stuck, man. He can't get out.
And that stranger completely forgot that he can fly, that he has powers, completely forgot that. And he gets squished like a bug against the buildings. At this point, the child stranger comes back, this creepy little child, and he's chasing Murdoch, where Murdoch's running
With a knife.
with a little knife, little child knife. Murdoch busts open a door to escape, and there's nothing on the other side, and he falls and he latches on. The kid comes up to Murdoch, who's now latching on, and the kid puts the knife down, and instead of just stabbing him or cutting him, just bites him.
Hell yeah.
just bites his hand, you know,
Rat.
because he's freaky like that. But Murdoch, luckily, is able to catch a raising chimney that's raising up and uses it to escape. Murdoch's then surrounded again. He's all the strangers are all around him, when suddenly the detective and his wife appear out of absolutely nowhere in a car to save him, because the tuning's obviously over. They've woken up. The strangers go to put the detective to sleep, but Mr. Hand kind of raises his hand and says not to. But then he gets mad when they escape. A lot of stuff in the film is very confusing. Maybe I misread that. Did you guys like this scene as much as I did? I love this scene. I think this scene.
I really liked it. I even liked the weird kid biting the hand. I liked it all, man.
Yeah, the Wig Kid's great.
Might be the best scene in the movie.
All the miniature work, it just like the vibes, and like it looks cool. I think it's a great piece in the film.
Are we still in 1998? Did they teleport to 2005? How did they make it look like that?
Miniatures, man. It's all just miniatures, dude.
Miniatures, bro.
Just incredible. Just incredible. The child actor, Brennan mentioned him before. What do you guys think of the child sleeper?
I don't know why he's in the movie, man. Was it just a cousin of one of the directors or something? Like,
Someone's
It's
kid.
two. There's two kids. There's two kids playing the one creepy dude.
Oh, the two kids. Okay.
The biting the hand is just someone was definitely, maybe he was going to originally meant to stab the hand, but it seems like someone who probably had a kid around the same age was like, nah, that little shit would come bite my hand 100%.
Yeah.
So the child, Mr. Sleep, was actually, as Zach said, played by twins. By twins, a boy and a girl. The girl in particular was super excited. She loved doing the role. I imagine there must have been a lot more that was cut on the cutting room floor because the kid apparently loved doing it. Twins, because in Australia you can only film a kid for like an hour, then they have to have a break or something, you know, which, come on, some hard work. That's why the country's failing.
Back to the salt mines.
It's funny. The director goes,
Kids yearn for the big screen, bro.
the director goes, I loved working with the kids, right? The only real difficulty was convincing them to get their head shaved. He shaved the kids.
Whoa, there was no ball cap? They actually shaved them?
Bald cap. He shaved those children.
Dude, that's dedication.
Apparently the kids were big Rocky Horror Picture fans and they loved working with Richard, but it's like, they're 8. Why have they seen the Rocky Horror Show?
Classic theater kids.
Yeah. They're starting them early over here, man.
Spiral conspiracy.
I still don't know why those kids are in the movie. They don't add much.
I couldn't tell you which is which. I couldn't tell you which was the boy or which was the girl. I don't know.
I think it's just for the cool visual. Like it's
I guess, yeah.
kind of unsettling, I suppose.
Well, considering that at the end of the film we learn that the bugs are in dead bodies. They're using a dead child's body to walk around in.
It's pretty fucked up.
You know, I bet that's the bug no one likes. They're like, come on, Richie. Come on, buddy.
Again, bro.
Dude, the child. There's so many dead bodies you could use. You don't want a bigger one? All right. Fine. You have the child one. That's fine.
That's creepy. Dude.
Where are we? So Murdoch's with the detective. He's with William Hurt, who, honestly, William Hurt and his wife, Jennifer Connelly, they're barely in the film. Like, they're in the film more in the director's cut that we saw. So they're even less in the version that Brendan saw because the majority of the 10 minutes that they added is them. They're in the police station and they're trying to, you're a murderer, but maybe you're not a murderer. You don't seem like you'd be a murderer. And he shows off his powers. I think he shows a book floating or something. He's now learning kind of to control the tuning a little bit stronger. The strangers attack the station, and I don't know if anyone else caught this. It looks hilarious. They run up to police officers, and they're like, sleep.
Sleep.
The whole sleep thing is just hilarious to me. They couldn't think of anything cooler. I don't know.
You have to put their hand directly in your face and say, sleep.
It works, I mean.
Yeah, probably not that scary. But look, Murdoch escapes with his powers because he is Superman.
He's the one, man.
Murdoch ambushes Kiefer in the pool again. He's always in the bloody pool. He loves the pool. Apparently he's in the pool because the strangers hate being near the pool. They don't like the water. And that makes sense because they're dead bodies. And the water and steam and stuff makes dead bodies decompose faster. So there you go. Maybe Kiefer's.
Do we think how bad do we think the strangers smell, boys?
Yeah, pretty bad probably.
They never mention it, do they?
Bad, right?
They mustn't smell great.
Probably freaking stink. Anyway, Kiefer somehow gets a gun on him and tries to force him to imprint him with new memories. And Murdoch's nearly forced to do it because he's forgotten that he has powers again. But he's saved at the last minute by the detective. Now we have a little difference here between the director's cut and the regular cut, fellas. A little bit of a difference.
Hit me.
In the director's cut, the version that we saw, John uses his powers to force Kiefer to come along with him. Because Kiefer's like, I don't want to go to Shell Beach. And he grabs him and he tunes him. But in the regular cut, he just comes along. Which, I mean, makes more sense because he's meant to be helping. But
yeah, weird.
I don't know. Like the three of them go to this brick wall that has a Shell Beach sign on it. And Murdoch gets impatient and he blows it up with his mind powers, which he's remembered how to use again. Oh, apologies. Sorry, we've skipped the rowboat scene. Did you want to talk about the rowboat scene quickly, Jordan?
Row your boat. They drive for a while. They're trying to get to Shell Beach. They get to a dead end road. Finally, they're like, all right, well, if we want to keep going, we've got to jump in this boat and row to Shell Beach. And on the boat is finally when Kiefer can actually spell out the entire plot of the film. And I don't know how far into the movie we are, but I swear to God, up until this point, I still didn't quite understand what the hell was going on. So having him explain everything kind of helped me out a bit.
I think he essentially explains what is explained at the start of the film.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is, which is why I don't get why they did it at the start, because he runs through everything.
Everyone's the mystery. Yeah.
He explains it all.
One of the knocks I will put against the film is that if he hadn't explained this in the rowboat scene, I don't think the film gives you enough to figure it all out on your own.
I kind of agree. If they cut that out and they keep going in the way they're going, there's still a lot of questions. I don't know how they could have explained it otherwise.
Yeah, like I watch a lot of films, so I've watched quite a few weird films as well. So I'm kind of used to films that kind of you're trying to guess what's happening and whatnot. And I was still not 100, like I was still kind of borderline on what's going on until it's straight up told to you and explained to you. I think if they didn't explain it to you, it would be too hard to pick up. So that's something they could have maybe improved in the script. But it's such a complex script. I mean, I don't even know how you do that. They get to the big sign that says Shell Beach, and Murdoch's like, why is it a sign? I want to go swimming. I love the beach. Come on, guys. I'm trying to get to the beach for an hour. And he gets angry and he blows up the bricks. And as he blows up the bricks, it reveals space. And they're looking out, and the bricks go forward and they hit a force field. You see that you're on a giant space station. It's not Earth. It's not, the planet. It's some sort of alien space station that they're on. At this point, the strangers ambushed them with Emma. Dr. Hand went and got Emma before, and they had a few conversations. She's barely in the film. One of the strangers and the detective kind of tussle, and they get thrown out of the space station, and they die in space.
Rip William Hurt.
R.I.P.
I mean, he domed one of them with his revolver before tussling with
He
the other.
did. Yeah, he fired a few shots.
Yeah.
He did some work. It's a cut on William Hurt, who barely in the film, realistically. He's in the film more in the director's cut than the regular cut. Did you know that the test audiences were troubled by the notion that the entire city wasn't sucked out into space when the Shell City wall was breached?
Oh my God.
Interesting.
So obviously they knew enough to be like, oh, that's the space, it should go. And so they had to go back at the last minute and add that special effect that shows the force field. There was no force field before.
But the wide shot of that entire space station, the city's just exposed. Like you look up and like I guess I get it.
Previously there was no force field, but they went and added one.
Yeah, fair enough. The air, man. How do they keep the air in?
And you've made a note here, Brendan, Jordan, that it finally proves flat Earth theory.
Flat Earthers love this movie.
Yeah, 100%, because it's this is what the flat Earthers think, that we're on a space station, and maybe they're right. I don't know.
I haven't been to Shell Beach.
Anyway, so we're getting to the end game now. Right. And the strangers bring Murdoch underground. They're able to get him to sleep, even though he couldn't sleep before because he's tired or whatever. Anyway, they're able to sleep him now, I think because he's tired. I'm not sure why they're successfully able to sleep him now. They couldn't before.
They were threatening to kill his wife unless he went to sleep, basically. So he's like, all right, fuck it, I'll go to sleep.
Okay, so they tricked him.
They tricked him, man.
We're back underground, and they force Kiefer, who's now in this kind of full body standing wheelchair.
Dude, the wheelchair.
To imprint Murdoch with the collective hive mind's memories, all their memories. I don't know why they want him to have their memories, but they do for whatever reason. Maybe they want him to be one of them and he'll have powers and they'll use the powers to save them or something. I'm not 100% sure. But Kiefer's tricksy, and instead he imprints him with the memory he tried to imprint him with earlier. And then we see Kiefer throughout his childhood talking to him, and he's his teachers and his parents and his mailman, and he's teaching him how to use the tuning and teaching him how to kill the strangers. He actually just acting like himself as well. It's the best bit of acting he does in the whole movie.
Not German.
Oh, yeah, he's not German.
Not German. Damn, huge.
He's very American.
Very American.
I don't know. Look, I don't know. He's meant to be German. Maybe he didn't want to do German. He wakes up. He wakes up and he melts the cage holding him. And we get a big CGI fight between him and Mr. the old stranger. I don't recall his name. It's interesting that they have the final fight since we've barely seen that old guy. I don't know if he's meant to be like, is it a hive mind, but he's the king or something? I don't know why. But anyway, he fights the old guy and we get a CGI fight. We get Harry Potter versus Voldemort where they're pushing powers at each other. And the more you grimace, the stronger your power is. Yeah, we used to love doing that.
I did not love that fight.
There's a dagger thrown. Anyway, Murdoch kills this person we've barely seen before, obviously. And then essentially, I can just run through the end of the film unless anyone has any input to the CGI.
No.
Yeah, I wouldn't think so.
I didn't love it.
Everyone else?
Oh, I loved it.
Oh, you loved it?
Really?
It was just so over the top and schlocky, and it was just fun. The ending where he like mind blasts the guy back lifts a giant water tower on the top of a building up, so he explodes into it and is impaled
Why did he blow up the water tower?
on all this. It was just, it was pure spectacle. It was
Because
great.
they hate water.
Yeah, fair.
It gives me like budget Akira vibes.
I will say the world exploding was sick. I just thought the stupid staring at each other with CGI funnel, like vortexes coming out of their heads was very dumb.
Hey man, it was not best CGI 1998 could offer, you know?
That was it, man. That was the best they could do. Yeah, that's fair. I did have a note in here saying at the time I'm sure it was wild, but now it is not aged well.
Not as wild. Kiefer speaks to him and he's like, oh, you know, you're free now. And Murdoch's kind of like, well, I'm going to use my powers to do what I want. I'm not going to do what you want. I think Kiefer wanted him to try and save them or try to get them home if they could be done. But Murdoch doesn't want to do that. He wants to create Shell Beach and he wants to get his wife, who's been imprinted with a new memory and doesn't know him, to fall in love with him again. And so he creates the beach and he creates the waters and he points the space station towards the sun. He bumps into Mr. Hand again and they have a little chat. And essentially he says, oh, you're trying to find the soul or figure out humanity by looking at our brain, but you should have looked somewhere else. Whenever anyone says that, they're talking about the heart, of course. But you got to explain that to a bug because the bug's not going to know that. Maybe you could have meant your butt. It's a bug. Be more useful, Murdoch. But anyway, so he creates Shell Beach and he finds his wife, and his wife's at the beach on a pier, and he goes up to his wife. Murdoch's got all the information, obviously, and he gaslights her and tries to trick her into loving him again with his knowledge.
He gaslights it, dude.
Well, that's what he's doing. that's what he's doing. And the film ends on that positive note where assumedly he will manipulate that young woman into falling in love with him. I mean, that's essentially what I believe is going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, that was the implication, you know.
Using his power. Unless I've misunderstood the ending, that's what it seemed to be to me. What do we think, fellas? What do we think of Dark City overall? Do we have any final thoughts?
Jordan.
Me?
I can go if you boys are.
Do we want to ask? You got a few questions here at the end. Things like theatrical versus director's cut. Now, I haven't seen the theatrical, so I can't comment. But everyone seems to think the director's cut is the better version of the movie.
I think part of the fun of this movie, for me at least, is like the mystery of what the hell's going on. And yeah, the theatrical cut just absolutely demolishes that, you know, in the first 30 seconds.
Yeah, don't watch it. Don't waste your time with the theatrical cut.
Well, I heard some people say on Reddit and in my travels, some people actually said they preferred the theatrical cut and that nobody prefers the explaining at the beginning. Everyone hates that.
Right.
Some people say watch the theatrical cut and just mute the start because it's a lot tighter, and all the extra scenes in the director's cut that they add, the child and a lot of time with William Hurt, the detective. We see what happens to William Hurt. He's not a factor. He's basically a wasted character. So the extra time goes to nothing. I was going to watch both. I didn't. I think tighter pacing would be better for the film. I'd love to see, maybe go back and watch the regular cut and see if the pacing is actually tighter. But yeah, this Blade Runner idea, I mean, how could the studio force them to add a narration at the start when they saw how bad it was for Blade Runner? The director's cut for Blade Runner that's the one people watch. So people don't even watch the regular cut.
The studios have no faith in their audiences, you know. They want to just cater to the lowest common denominator.
It's just crazy.
I have a note here saying, I reckon if you were only going to watch this movie one time, I think if you watched the director's cut, you'd be very confused.
Yeah.
You know, and you'd spend so much of the first hour of the movie very confused. They eventually explain what's going on, but by that time, it's too late. I think if you're going to watch it one time, I don't know if it warrants. I understand why they wanted to explain it to the audience.
A couple of interesting what ifs, some theories I've got. You guys tell me what you think, whether this would have been a better film or a worse film. Initially, the early draft, and when I say that, I will point out that, so Alex wrote his draft and he gave it to some writers, and it was like 6 pages or something. No, sorry, that wasn't 6 pages. It was a full draft. And the writers were all like, this is horrible and confusing, but I like it. And I'm going to rewrite this for you, but this is terrible. This is a really bad, this is like a movie like you can tell you're not a writer, that you make movies, because this is a terrible script. Initially, the script was actually going to have the detective be the main story. And it was going to be about a 1940s detective who goes insane trying to solve a case where the facts just don't make sense.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Alex changed it because he thought, it's probably better from the perspective of the guy being chased instead of the detective. But obviously some of the original detectives like character goes into the crazy detective who's trying to figure out the world. A couple of more interesting things about the initial script. The strangers were going to have an evil robotic puppy,
Yes.
which would attack people with its steel jaws.
Hell yes, dude.
Hell yes.
There's going to be a trial for John Murdoch. John Murdoch, not the lead, detective's the lead. He was going to be on trial, and the reanimated corpses of the victims that he killed were going to come back to life and testify against him.
What?
And even John's wife would be a witness in the original script. You can see why the writers were like, what is going on?
That's correct. I kind of want to see that movie, but that sounds insane.
I kind of want to see that movie as well. My own question, my own theory for what I think. I think it's a good film, but there's a couple of the decisions let it down. Kiefer, casting wise, huge mistake. Imagine if Kiefer was Hugo Weaving, right? I think Hugo could have done that role. I mean, anyone could have done that role better.
Dude, I still maintain, man, it's on the director to tell him to do something different.
Hey, man, Keith's got that bullwhip. You ain't telling him to do anything.
yeah, maybe he was keeping him at bay.
Imagine if Kiefer was like Agent Smith or Morpheus in The Matrix, and he's like, you think that's is air you are breathing? So he speaks the whole freaking film. Imagine if that was in The Matrix. No one would have ever watched it. Absolutely terrible.
I'm gonna die on this hill. I think it's on the director for not making him change the way he acted. That's the hill I'm dying on.
Maybe that's the best he had.
Then you recast, man. I don't know what to say.
You can't recast. You don't have the time or the money. It's a very, very slow budget.
Dude, they waited a month because they thought what's his name was gonna
Tom Cruise
be in the movie. Tom Cruise.
He was reading it. He could have done it.
He was reading it, dude. They had the time, man.
You think he wouldn't have seen the masterpiece that is this script?
Yeah, maybe. He definitely saw the title.
I had a few questions. I had another question because I think this film is very influential. I think it's influenced quite a few films. I did ask you guys to see if you could find anything. It's fine if you did. Can you guys think of any films you've seen that have been influenced by Dark City?
I had in my next question, Memento is one of them.
And I think Inception as well, to a degree.
Inception I also put on that list.
I think the movie deserves to exist for that alone because those two movies and Nolan in general, fantastic. Right. If he could see this movie, if it only cost $27 million to make Nolan make good films, worth it. Right. Those films are incredible. I had an interesting one that I thought of. That's why I wanted to ask this question. Actually, a Buffy the Vampire Slayer episode.
Really?
Huge.
Like, it's not one for one, but there's an episode called Hush in Buffy the Vampire Slayer where the gentlemen who have weird faces like the strangers and wear suits like regular dress suits, tall aliens that they glide. They're obviously on like Zambonis or something that's hidden or CGI'd out or something or green screened out, but they glide like they're flying around in Sunnyvale. Basically, the episode it's an interesting episode. They take away everyone's voice so no one can speak. And then they break into people's rooms while they're sleeping and kill them and they can't yell for help because they haven't got a voice.
Jesus Christ.
It's a dark episode. Some episode Buffy is a good little show, but I definitely got Dark City vibes from that.
Yeah, interesting.
Exosense? Is that what it's called? The
Existence.
Yeah.
1999.
Existence. Yeah.
Existence.
Very similar.
Classic.
I think around that time, either side of 2000, there were a few films that were made that all seemed to be grappling with that kind of philosophical question about the authenticity of the world around them. Seemed to be a real thing.
Well, you know what's funny? The Truman Show came out the exact same year as this movie.
So it was something, people were feeling something at the time, man. I think it really was resonating. People were just like, I don't know, getting fed up with shit. I don't know. It's interesting that there's all these similar themes from
weird,
influential films at the time.
It is interesting. I definitely think The Matrix grapples it better, but it is interesting. You know, The Matrix similar because he's like he works his little 9 to 5 in his cubicle and he wants to break out because the world doesn't feel real to him. Do we ever get an explanation of why John tuned is a question you have here?
Do we?
Yeah, I think Kiefer says that humans have evolved or something along those lines. That's all we got.
That's it. That's all we got.
He's the one.
In fact, I think he says evolution in a really weird voice.
That German accent.
He randomly evolves.
Okay.
Did Kiefer intentionally make the implant go wrong? No, he dropped the implant thing by mistake. So it just kind of happened. Kiefer was kind of planning it, but also kind of not. Bit of a strange one.
He was put in the bathtub. He was knocked out for the tuning, but did he not like wake up mid tuning and that's why he dropped it?
Yeah, I think he wakes up mid tune. Yeah,
he woke up mid tuning. That's right, and he knocks the memory implants.
Maybe we don't need to know.
Maybe we don't need to know.
Maybe evolution is a good enough answer.
BioShock is also another influence. I'm giving that Dark City BioShock.
Oh, yeah. That's fair. I can see that.
Pretty similar. Let's get our final ratings and then we get out of here and we can leave Dark City behind us. I'm going to start with Zach. I love actually, no. Yes, I'm going to start with Zach. Zach, give us your thoughts and your final rating.
Well, my thoughts are Roger Ebert was right. 4-star rating for me.
4-star banger.
I love the vibes.
Damn, dude.
I did toy with dropping this down to a 3.5, but I'm going to stick to my guns. For me, this is just a classic film I've grown up watching. I love the vibes. I love the miniatures. I love it's a bit of a kind of revisiting of noir kind of storytelling, but with some cyberpunk kind of influences. So yeah, 4 stars for me.
4 stars. Beautiful.
That's up there.
Jordan.
My rating's a bit lower, man.
A little bit wrong.
But so oddly enough, my rating changed on my second viewing.
Interesting.
So my first viewing, this was a 2-star movie for me.
Huge.
And I bumped it up to a 2.5.
Nice.
Interestingly, watching the first hour of that movie where you know nothing of what's happening, but watching it the second time, knowing what is going on, I kind of paid attention more and I kind of got to focus on, I guess, the key parts of the movie. And I did enjoy it more on the second viewing.
So is having the narration at the start maybe actually a good thing?
I genuinely think if you were going to watch it one time only, then yeah, you might actually need it. But yeah, the reason it's 2.5 is pretty low for me. The acting is just so bad. So many of the actors are awful. The story is it doesn't do much for me. The whole philosophy of memories and all that isn't. I think other movies do it better.
Yeah. We didn't touch on the acting as much as we could have, but apart from a couple of the actors that have really good roles, there's quite a few duds in there.
I do not think that the lead was good. What's his name?
Yeah, the lead is not great. And the lead is not great. Kiefer is
not great.
Disgusting. His name is Rufus. Is disgusting. Absolutely terrible. William Hurt, is he good? I don't know. He's barely in the film.
He kind of it seemed like he didn't want to be there.
Jennifer Connelly, again, is she good? She's good when she's on screen. She's barely on screen. Is she on screen for 10 minutes less? She's not in the film. And a lot of those 10 minutes that she's on screen is the singing scenes are great. I think she does a great job, but it's just a look. It's got nothing to do with the movie.
Yeah, anyway. My 2.5 rating is purely atmosphere. The film noir vibes I'm all here for, and the cinematography and the world building is phenomenal. So that's my rating.
Dude, I think the noir theme is it's immaculate. The set design, it all just looks so good. As a sci-fi, I like the philosophical questions it's asking. It's just a fun film. So I'd probably go similar to Zach. I'd do a 4 out of 5.
Damn, dude.
4 out of 5. Now, when I first watched this film, I was so mad. So mad. I was not a fan. I was not a fan of the film when I first watched it. I was angry about the acting. I was confused by the plot. I was all over the place. And my initial rating immediately coming out of it was 1.5 stars.
Whoa.
That is low.
Trash. Absolute trash. But
that is low.
On my rewatch, going over my notes, and having time to process it and treating it maybe the way it deserves to be treated, maybe lowering my expectations. My expectations may be too high because it's a high-ish rating and a lot of people talking about it. I've readjusted and I think I actually enjoy the film and I would watch it again. And I'm going to give it a 3.5 as my final rating. I've come up.
That is a crazy jump.
Wow.
That is a crazy jump.
Even when it was 1.5, I loved that. I love the original sci-fi aspect of it. I love that it's got a crazy out there idea, a bug hive mind that has somehow kidnapped humans, and the bugs control dead bodies, but dress in weird leather coats for some reason. They're performing experiments on humanity on a space station, and they can't be near water or the sun or they die. And and the city, they're psychic powered, and it's such a good idea. But I think the reason I initially bounced off it so much, I actually think the director's cut is probably not as good as the regular cut, because I think it's too distractingly confusing at the start of the film. Maybe I'm dumb, right? Maybe if you're a bit smarter than me, you could enjoy it more. But I was like, I don't like not knowing what is going on. I didn't feel like the mystery was working for me. But knowing the plot at the end of the film, it now goes back and does work for me. I did not like the CGI fight at the end. I just, maybe if it was a CGI fight against Mr. Hand, someone that we know, the actual antagonist, but it's not against the antagonist. It's against some old guy that we've seen 3 times. He has I don't know, 30 seconds screen time before we get him at the end of the film. Where am I meant to feel the emotion from? And I had no doubt in my mind that Murdoch was going to beat him. Murdoch is just trouncing everyone the entire film. He's got Superman powers. So that's why I was upset at the
There were
end.
no stakes, man.
I was upset about him trying to manipulate that poor woman into loving him. Wasn't a fan of that after thinking about it. Also, the way it looks. Oh my God. It looks so good. The practical effects or the CGI effects, however they do it, it looks incredible. I can't believe if I saw this in 1998 as a child, I think it would have blown my mind. It looks awesome. It's so good. I loved every minute of the shooting scenes. I couldn't wait for them to come again. CGI doors were terrible. Cut that out next time. But everything else was good. 3.5 stars. Yeah.
There you go.
A cult classic. I will watch it again. If a 4K gets released, I will purchase the 4K.
Damn, dude, that is huge.
Let's get the transfer. Get the transfer out there.
Dude, The Truman Show came out the same year. Saving Private Ryan.
Oh, it's not the best film of 1998.
Armageddon, dude.
It's not the best film of 1998, though.
Rush Hour.
Yeah, Ebert's crazy.
He's crazy, dude. Blade came out the same year, dude.
Wow. If we're all done, I can throw it to my pick for next episode.
Absolutely.
Do it, man.
Okay, guys. I had my plan all picked out, and I was going to demand that the Master of Cinema be represented, okay? I was going to demand it. Knock at the Cabin, Dark City. Boys, you don't go to the delicious Yarrow Valley Chocolatieri and hunt in the bargain bin for films, okay? No, I'm afraid you two boys do not deserve the Master of Cinema, okay? So instead, just like the fictional character Julius Caesar from HBO's Rome Season 1, I'm taking over the podcast. And I'm demanding that next week we watch Alien, okay?
Goddamn.
Ridley
What a
Scott,
movie.
classic, okay? Something that's not in the bargain bin. You guys are gonna have to probably go to a regular store and pick that up, you know?
I'm gonna pull out my 4K Ultra.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
I'm gonna watch it for the 20th time.
You ask your dad, hey dad, have you heard of Alien? He's gonna say yes, okay? He's not gonna say Dark City. What are you talking about? The classic, Ridley Scott. Next episode.
Nice pick, man.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah.
Nice pick, dude.
All right, fella. Thanks for listening, everyone. Have a great fortnight. Have a great time, and we'll see you next time. Love and respect.
Dude, that's a good ending, bro.
Great ending.